Hello, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. I know I'm a couple of minutes late, or about 4 minutes late. And I was trying to see, I have a love-hate, well, a hate relationship with this chat room. Okay, I think I have the chat going. Maybe. Okay. So we're not going to have a very long webinar today, and I know that I say that a lot, so but I will try. I am going to go over a few of the things that we have gone on the other ones that I have gotten questions about. I realize that these webinars are about 45 to 50 minutes long, so sometimes some things get lost in the shuffle. For the record, finally, I have one webinar where my hair is not looking crazy, so I would like to acknowledge that. I digress. So I understand that sometimes some of the questions, some of the points get lost along the way, but a very good strategy is for you to take time out and watch that webinar again and take notes, and then you can practice some of the stuff that you're doing, and or email me if you have a question about any of the stuff that I cover. But there's 4 already. I believe this is the 5th one. This is the first one for February. I know that I did one every single week in January. So again, watch them, go through them, try to practice them, because sometimes when you do something or you hear about it and then when you go practice it with your child, it's a little bit different, or your child doesn't necessarily respond to that particular technique. And because you're practicing, you now know, and then that's your opportunity to, hey, get on urbanbailout@gmail.com and write me a question. Or if something's working really, really well, it is great for you to comment on Raising Readers on Instagram or email me so I can put it out there. One, it keeps me motivated to do this, give you this service, but also it reminds other people that they're not alone, that there's a lot of children and a lot of parents that need this help and this support, and that we're all in this together. So it's very important to send in your testimonials, and it's very important for you to listen to those webinars, take notes, practice the stuff so that you can understand if you really master a skill or you don't. As always, I have to plug my services because this is how I keep the lights bill. I have to be able to pay my internet bill, because if I don't pay my internet, I can't. Oh, you finally got your hands. Oh my God, I love it. So yes, on the chat it's saying, finally got my hands on the Read Aloud Handbook today. It's amazing, thank you. Yes, it's one of my favorite books. So what's great about listening, digress, sorry. I have to be able to keep the lights on and the internet bill on so I can do these webinars. That means I have a book that you can get. I also do private tutoring via Hangout like this in real time. And I also have the DVD. And I also take donations for Raising Readers. So if you want to contribute to this work, you're more than welcome to. Moving along, I'm going to answer some questions, and then I will go to today's topic, which is developing vocabulary. So somebody was asking me what they can do if they have a child that's very, very busy. And so I got those questions twice this week. One of them was for a younger child, so like 4 years old. And what I was saying is the parent was saying that the child is very busy and not necessarily interested in books. Very, very interested in very, very interested in electronics. So here's what happens, guys. We have these tablets and we have these phones, And from the time the child is like 18 months, 2 years old, we are, you know, at the grocery store, and we're giving our children the phone, the tablet to kind of hush them, keep them entertained. What happens with that is then they become addicted to the constant stimulation. The only kind of way to combat that is to take it away and not give it to them. And also to model behavior. So if you're always on your phone, checking your Instagram, checking your Facebook, you really can't expect your child to focus and to learn to look around, to learn to read, if you yourself are constantly on your phone distracted. So your children are modeling your behavior. That's first and foremost. So you have to, one, take it away from the child. Two, you have to then replace it with either your attention or a book or some other kind of toy that's a silent toy. Action figures without batteries. We need things that don't have batteries, that don't light up, that are not electronic, so that our children can start focusing back on things that don't have instant stimulation. Blocks are very good. And then, of course, books. Another great thing is a coloring book. Another great thing is Play-Doh. Things that they actually have to do that will get them back to focusing on one thing. Those are some things that we can start doing with 4-year-olds, but also all the way up. Sometimes my son, for example, will say, "Can I watch something while I eat?" No. Now he has to kind of fuss and fight a little bit if he wants to play with the phone or wants to watch something on YouTube, but then he goes and gets a book. So you have to take that option away and then give that child another option, but you have to discipline yourselves as well and model that behavior. If you're bored, you have to go get a book, and your child has to see you read it when you're bored and you want entertainment. So that way your child knows that when you're bored and you want entertainment, one of the things that you can do is read. That's how you get your children to start reading for leisure. I apologize about the cough. So that's one thing. The other thing is very, very busy children that are also struggling to read. I covered this in one of the other webinars in saying that sometimes you have to practice the skills a little bit separately. So some of the skills that you practice, you might allow for your child to move. An example would be when you're working on sight words. So you might write your sight words, have your child write the sight word. As they're writing, I never say just show your child sight words. That's not, because their eyes become fixed. And we want to read from left to right. So we always want to practice fluency, moving from left to right. And the way to do that, am I still on? Because I don't hear myself. Yeah, I'm still on. So the way to do that is, sorry guys, to always have your children writing your sight words, writing their sight words. If they're not right, I'm looking for my, writing their sight words. If they're not writing their sight words, what happens is that they're just looking and they become fixed, and then children read like this. Their eyes are fixed. You want your children to read from left to right. Now, if you practice writing your sight words, then you're writing from left to right, that you have that eye movement, you have that body movement. That's what's going to create and reinforce fluency. So if you're working with sight words, don't just show your children sight words, you're going to have them write it. So you come up with your sight words, they write them. As they write them, have them say. So if the word is they, T-H-E-Y, right? So that's they, that's one of the sight words. As they're writing the word, they are spelling it out. That's involvement with motion. Then you might get up and put them in different places on your hallway. And then go say, hey, John, hey, Lisa, I need you to go get me they. I need you to go get me R. And you don't even have to put them right next to each other. You can kind of have that child that's already busy kind of move around a little bit, because they might need that. So what you do is you kind of separate the skill. For the sight words, they're still learning, but in that particular skill, they get to move a little bit. Then you might take your timer and you're going to, put it for like 10 minutes, create a space on your table and have them do either a puzzle or Legos, a block, something that they have to do for 10 minutes. It can be a workbook like this, that's just pictures, that's not necessarily literacy, but that gets them to do something focused for 10 minutes. So in that sense, you're building a skill and at the same time, you're helping them with controlling their body. As their literacy skills get stronger, then you can combine those skills and have them both focus and work on a literacy skill at the same time. But if they're already struggling, sometimes it's good they're struggling with literacy and struggling with the movement, you could separate those two and work them separately. So I hope that answers that question. I need a second, guys, to figure this out. Because just a minute ago, I could see the questions, and right now I can't. I'm going to get this chat right. Live streaming. I think. Okay, so I think that I can see it now. I hope that I can. Okay, if somebody can write on the chat for me so I can see if you guys are, I can see that you guys are on. Okay, maybe not. I lost the chat. I'll work on it next week. I can't get it right. Okay, so we'll go on without the chat. I promise next week I'll do better. Love, hate, I'm telling you, with this chat thing. Okay, I'm gonna not worry about it. So that's that. Okay, another question that was asked, again, for a child that's very busy. Tips. You can try the very first webinar. I gave you tips on how to set the environment. And I included crystals, drinking water, burning sage, really using brain gym, and also music that integrates the brain, all of that. So that would be the website to watch. I mean, the webinar to watch. Also, drinking a little bit of chamomile tea is good. And you can also send this to school if they're allowed to bring a thermos. So if you have a child that's very busy, at least for lunch, they can have some iced tea just made with chamomile tea and like stevia. Don't send it with sugar, of course. So a little bit of stevia drops and the chamomile tea at home before they leave. And then again, for lunch, that's going to help them calm down a little bit. So that really helps. I have a client that introduced that in the thermos and saw an immediate help. So that was great. Oh, okay, I'm back seeing it. Yes. Okay, I'm back. I can see the chat. Thank you so much. So definitely you can introduce chamomile tea. And then there's 2 of these extracts that I use. I ran out of my favorite one, which is called Calm Child. And this is another one if you have, this is for my clients that have very, very, like a lot of energy, have high strong personalities, and just have, you know, very busy bodies. For them, the Valerian Super Calm is something that I would use. So don't try the chamomile tea and the drops at the same time. You want to try, I would say, first the chamomile and the brain gem and the music, then add more elements depending on what your child needs, because you don't want to spend money on something that you don't need, and then you don't want a child that's not responsive because they're so relaxed. So work with that. Pay attention to your child. You don't want your child yawning and then you're upset because your child is yawning. So just kind of work. It's an alchemy, guys. So just work with that. Hope that answers your question. One more question about something that I spoke about before. When I said that using these books like Hidden Pictures or Where's Waldo, or Can You Spot the Differences, and it'll be 2 very similar images, and then one of them is a little bit different, like 5 differences, and they have to identify them. I was saying that really helps with fluency, and that's going to help with none at all, completely homeopathic. For the question on the chat is any adverse effects and how long does it calm the child? Usually just a couple of hours. When you do the drops, and it doesn't happen immediately. So if I'm going to a meeting, or if my child needs to focus on a particular skill, like a new skill, like right before they're going over a new opening at chess, for example, with my son, before, if chess class is at 10, I'll give it to him around 9. And by 10 o'clock, it's pretty much kicked in, and it takes him through those 2 hours. When I'm doing a tutoring session, I'll do it about 30 minutes before, and then, you know, that gets him for about 2 hours. For the drops. The Calm Child is my favorite. This one, the Valerian Super Calm, sometimes it makes like a normal child a little bit sleepy. So that would be good for nighttime. Okay, back to using these. The reason that I was saying that these are really good for improving fluency and also even reading comprehension is because sometimes when you're reading, there are words that look very similar, and they just have one subtle difference can make a difference in the definition altogether. So the more the eye is trained to identify subtle differences in symbols, because they've done these activities, the more the fluency will increase. For example, fad and fad. One little word, and it's a completely different, one little word, and it's a completely different meaning. And if you're going really fast, and you can really identify changes really fast, rat and rot, right? Completely different, just one little change. So if the eye and the brain are really trained, then you're going to have increases in fluency and also in reading comprehension, because your child is just getting more of it. So this is something that you use, and it doesn't feel like you're working on literacy, but you definitely are working on literacy. So I think that's it for the questions that I have been asked. So I'm just really going to go through 2 tricks, 2 little things that I work on a lot for increasing vocabulary. And there are root words, using and learning root words to teach your children a lot of words at the same time. So let's think of cardio as a root word. So I might put, I'm gonna write it down for you guys. So cardio means heart, right? And so I would like write the word cardio, and then I would go cardiology and cardiovascular, and those are the only two that I can think of right now. But even if it's just two, you've now taught your child two words in one sitting, because wherever they see cardio, they know what these two words are, and you can talk about it, right? Let me think about another one, like argue, right? Argue, argument, argumentative, and you would just have them here. I'm trying to think of one that is in the middle. Okay, I have another one. I do. Sorry, guys. I should prepare more, but I'm doing a whole bunch of different things at the same time. I just thought about it. No, it was not. Okay, set. Set means to cut, right? Or cut, a piece. So you can do dissect. There it is. Boom. So set, and you will go over the definition of set. A piece. Then you will do dissect. Then you would do section. Now we're cooking. Then you would do sectional. Then you would do intersect. So in one sitting, once you have taught the word set to your child, you can jump and teach them related words. Does that make sense? So you want to use root words, and you will end up teaching your children a lot of words very effectively. I'm trying to think of another one. I would say geography, geology. That means earth. I think sect is the best one that I can think of right now in the moment. But what I do before I do a session is that I'll think of a few ones, like if I prepare for the webinars. I will think of a few ones, and I will do kind of like a little map, and then I will go through it with the child and just kind of like brainstorm. But that's just a really, really good way of teaching your children a lot of words at the same time. Act is another good one. Transaction, action. So act is to move or movement. Transaction, action, activity, reaction. Now we're cooking. So using root words to teach children a lot of vocabularies in one same sitting. So in one sitting, you can actually expose your children to 20 words if you pick 3 good ones, 3 to 4 good ones. And the more vocabulary a child has, then the more your fluency will increase, and also your reading comprehension is going to increase. And a lot of our children are struggling with vocabulary. I think last week I mentioned that one way to increase vocabulary is to read nonfiction, and that really is one of my favorite things. Okay, so that's one way to Are you guys getting this? So that's one way to improve. More comments below. That's one way to improve vocabulary. Another way to improve vocabulary, another tip that I have is to give you the definition. You want to give your child the definition of a word, use it, and then immediately, kind of in your own language, and then immediately give them a question. So let me practice it right here. I did pick two that I wanted. I did prepare. Expeditiously, my son's favorite word. So I said, when you do something expeditiously, you will do it very quickly and efficiently. I finished my dinner expeditiously so that I can have dessert. Can you think of a time that you did something expeditiously? So you would just give the definition, you use it in a sentence, and then you're going to say, can you think of a time that you did something that way? They will give you a sentence using the word. And you might even say, come up with a situation and say that they do that expeditiously. Would they do that expeditiously, or would they not do it? Would they stall? And you give them the antonym almost. So you can also do it, frame it in a different way. Another one was perplexed, with confusion, right? Or there's vagueness, or it was confusion. So for perplexed, the way that I used it this week was when it is now winter time, right? It is now winter time, and Carla was perplexed when she went outside and she started to sweat because it was so hot, something along the lines. Can you think of a time when you were suddenly perplexed? Again, she or he would have to say, I was perplexed when, and then at that point, like instantly, you know if the child is using it in context or not in context. And so it's a very kind of like call and response way to practice words on the spot and use them, because a lot of times we want to write down the definition, or, you know, we want children to know a word and use it throughout the day, and you aren't really getting, keeping track of it. So that's kind of like an instant way for you to develop vocabulary. Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? Is this stuff making sense? I'm so sorry about my coughing today. That's why I didn't want to make this a long webinar. And I just came up with very few things to talk about. So that's building vocabulary. 2 tips again. Well, 3, one from last week, which is you have to read a lot of nonfiction. You have to expose your children to you have to expose your children to nonfiction. You have to expose your children to audiobooks. You have to make sure that you're reading stories to your child aloud, 1 or 2 levels higher than their reading comprehension. And then today we went over maps, root word maps. Oh, so how do you find root words? You're going to Google words and their roots, or root words, and it will come up, or even word games with root words. Just Google that, and so many websites will pop up, and then you'll just go through it and you will find what you feel comfortable with. Try to find root words that will end up giving you at least 5 or 6 words, and then you can really help your children with learn a lot of words in a very short period of time. And the other tip, lastly, was to go over a word, go over the definition, very, in your own words, you have to make it like almost casual. You just kind of have to make it non-threatening, right? Give them definition of the word, use it in a sentence, and then ask them, and then let them use it in a sentence. And if they use it and it's out of content, what you would do is you would you will kind of correct them and give them another example. Cool. So I'm really not going to do a long webinar today. Like I usually try to do 45 minutes to 50 minutes, but my throat is on fire and I don't want to cough through this whole thing. If you guys have any particular questions or areas that you kind of want me to go through, if you could write them in the chat. If not, we can continue next week. Because, like I said, my throat is killing me. But that's pretty much it, you guys. What I really want people to do is to really watch the previous webinars, and then, like I said, take notes, practice these things, practice the word games. Last week, man, I enjoyed doing last week's webinar so much. I was so hyped because I love oral games and listening games. So, and I really hope that you guys are practicing these skills because, and I know when you are, because when you are, I get questions on my email. But practice them, because sometimes, like I said before, next week I will give you a full hour, I promise. I didn't want to cancel because I want to get the momentum. I want everybody to know we're here every single Wednesday. And so that's why I didn't want to cancel, but my throat was horrible all day. But sometimes, I will say this, sometimes it just really depends on a child's personality, their age grade, and just like their age or their grade, but really just like their particular aptitude. And you might be trying a game and it's just not syncing. And I've had experience working with other children, and the minute you tell me, you know, this didn't really gel, or this, I couldn't make this work, we might be able to just change it a little bit and then get success out of that child. But I can't give you every. Thank you. I will drink that immediately. This is lime water. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. But what sometimes we just need to shift it a little bit. But when I do the webinars, I can't give you all the variations of a game or an activity at the same time, because then the webinars would be like 10 hours and nobody would ever watch them. So I can't give you all of the examples, but if you practice stuff and something's not working or work really, really well, then I can share it, then we can tweak it, and then we can move on from there. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. And thank you, Deb, for the tip. I'm definitely going to add some baking soda to this. And next week we'll go over, next week we're going to start actually working on phonics and doing it kind of in an applied way. And so that sight words, so glad you have tips on sight words. Yes. I love, again, the big thing about sight words, like I said, is that the danger with sight words is like, one, we do need to know the sight words. The danger with sight words is that when we practice them, every single time we practice them, our eyes are fixed. Like I said, it's almost if you're like learning what a piece of art or like a fixed object is. But when you do them, when you actually write them every time, then your eye is going from left to right. And then that doesn't cause a fluency problem later. And then putting them on a wall, or like I said, having children move around and have motion while they do them, makes it so that, you know, anytime you move, you activate memory. Anytime you write, you activate memory. So that is going to be great to do with sight words. So again, just go practice, try stuff out, take notes, let me know, and then we'll be more interactive. And next week we're going to start with phonics, and that might be 3 webinars, consecutive webinars. So bear with us because there's a lot of stuff to go through. And that's it, guys. I'm going to close this up. Thank you so much for showing up, and make sure that you tell others to tell others to watch and to share their experiences so that together we can get this right and raise readers. Bye, guys.